Today in Cannabis News, planned cannabis advertising limitations in the state of Montana are relaxed. Mayors throughout the U.S. urge President Joe Biden and Congress to legalize cannabis with an emphasis on racial and social equity. And inmates with certain federal drug charges are being asked to apply for clemency by the Biden administration. It's Wednesday, September 15th, and this is your Trichomes Morning Buzz.
Broadcasting live from the Trichomes.com studios in Southern California. It's time for your Morning Buzz. We bring you late-breaking news that keeps you up to date with what's happening in the cannabis industry.
First up, the Montana State Department of Revenue has amended planned cannabis advertising laws that had piqued the interest of retailers, farmers, and others in the state's budding recreational cannabis sector. Although the legislature imposed numerous restrictions on legal cannabis throughout the spring session, several DOR plans earlier this year did not sit well with Montana's cannabis sector. One proposed rule would have limited the size of signage surrounding shops and forced them to carry a detailed disclaimer about cannabis's psychoactive properties and habit-forming possibilities, among other warnings. Another would have made it unlawful for dispensaries to advertise. Vendors will be permitted to advertise their business and promote their brands within the new regulations. Dispensaries, though, are only allowed to advertise cannabis items via digital ads. The state has also scrapped a set of regulations that some dispensary operators viewed as onerous, requiring dispensaries and other cannabis-related firms to post a long disclaimer about the substance. Dispensary signage would no longer be needed to include advisories, but they will still have to adhere to municipal rules.
Next up, members of the U.S. Conference of Mayors voted recently to urge President Joe Biden to legalize cannabis on a federal level, remove earlier cannabis charges, and enable retail production under a socially equitable framework. The decision was approved by the association, which includes mayors from around the United States, at its 98th yearly meeting. The mayor stressed that individuals from localities targeted by cannabis criminalization are largely absent in entrepreneurship in state-authorized industries, and that cannabis equity measures in states and municipalities around the nation that use race-neutral eligibility conditions have thus far failed to create equitable market participation and leverage the benefits of diversity. The association is pressing President Joe Biden to remove cannabis, specifically Delta-9 THC and its derivatives, from the Drug Enforcement Agency's list of controlled substances, to end criminal penalties for cannabis possession and use, and to automatically expunge all past cannabis convictions, including resentencing and restoring all rights, particularly voting rights. The group also calls on legislation to create and update all public policies to reflect that cannabis is medicine and an effective treatment for a variety of health conditions, such as amending policies to specifically protect cannabis patients from THC-based drug screening, for access to employment and public resources such as housing, financial assistance, healthcare, and education.
Last up, President Joe Biden's administration is making initial moves towards giving executive clemency to hundreds of inmates serving time in federal prison for drug offenses, with the Federal Bureau of Prisons requesting that eligible persons begin the process by submitting clemency petitions. The CARES Act, which was passed in response to the coronavirus pandemic, allowed individuals with drug charges who had up to 4 years remaining on their sentences to be placed in home confinement. During the coronavirus pandemic last year, roughly 8,300 federal convicts were authorized to momentarily transfer to home confinement, but the Justice Department under the Trump administration released a statement declaring that most would be mandated to return to prison once the pandemic was deemed to have ended. Authorities with the Biden Justice Department concurred with that decision, though this recent action suggests that the administration is seeking methods to keep individuals with drug offenses out of prison.
That was today's Buzz. Thanks for listening. For more cannabis news and insights from industry professionals and a place to discuss these stories and others, visit trichomes.com.
And be sure to catch up with all of our other cannabis industry-related podcasts like Hash It Out, Tech and Cannabis, or the International Cannabis Conversation wherever you get your podcasts. For Trichomes.com, I'm RJ Balde.
And I'm Devin Liao. Have a great day.